Hello, in this episode about the end times, we'll see what will be happening to the animal kingdom, but there will be also a lot of current situation updates, like for example this certificate, and a lot is happening in some regions, like for example a week ago or so, there were in line so many earthquakes of magnitude around 7 as there is usually in a single year. Now we got that in a week. So these questions will be answered at the end of the video, and also I think an update from my area will be very informative because it was all very relaxed here, much better than other regions. And then all of a sudden, casually in the paper, they wrote that within just a couple of weeks, the access to anything at all for the unmarked people is over, including food stores, everything. The army is already mobilized to check for these certificates. And then this type of market is flourishing. It seems too many people are customers here, and I would like to warn them that for most of them this will end in very bitter tears, and that's how it's gonna happen. First of all, just by having the barcode and not having the thing inside your body, well, what do you think, that they don't have devices to communicate with what is supposed to be in your body? If you have the barcode for the certificate, and these devices that Otrok Vyacheslav described, remotely checking the people, well, it's exactly like this. Maybe it won't be introduced within the next few weeks, or maybe not within the next few months, but it is just a disaster waiting to happen. And then guess what will happen to these people? I mean, do you remember the Vyacheslav prophecies, how they overfill the prisons, and what happens to those people after that? Well, who is more eligible for filling up the prison than this type of people? And in many prophecies, we remember that in the end times, they will not prosecute murderers, rapists, thieves, not at all. That they will pay and encourage them. The only thing that they will prosecute is, I mean, it's already clear even without prophecies whom are they targeting. And then from a higher perspective, to walk around with this type of certificate, well, this is the certificate without which you cannot buy and sell. Does it ring any bells to you? Especially if you're a Christian or grown up in a Christian country. Okay, maybe it is not full-fledged, but that's what it is. That's what it is, and the vow associated with it is the most dangerous thing, actually. Just because people are caught in bodily consciousness, they think that if a small part is lacking, they are still okay. But in terms of the path of the soul, this is extremely dangerous. You are allowing the black magic too near. To speak in practical terms, most people who take such certificates, they think that they simply have no other choice, but 99% of them simply do not want to part with their status quo and lifestyle. And I have no other choice means I have no other choice that I can imagine. And later on, when they start hot stamping the people, whatever laser tattoo or whatever technology they use for the real mark of the beast, then even the people with the dodgy certificates, they will actually take it. They will take it. Because if they have not run to the countryside now, they will not run then. They will be too weak spiritually and physically to do it then, and they will lack the resources. If now they are not firm enough in their resolution to the point that they would go, if needed, to a small cabin in the woods, or even to a caravan, or even a tent. In some cases, that's already the only option. Do you think that they will turn more brave after a couple of years, when they're probably very seriously sick and there is no transport, and the only option is to run without luggage in the night in between the army posts encircling the city? No, of course they are not gonna do that. What do you think, that the colonists don't know about this type of certificates? They know very well, and they will use it to their advantage. Probably that's why in the Nina prophecies it was stated that in the beginning they will give some type of, certificates and numbers, and then there will be 2 or 3 more of these certificates that they won't be able to refuse. In other words, now they are luring the people in the trap, even if those that are still lingering at the entry of the trap still, the devils, they dance and sing when they see that as well, because meanwhile they are erecting those fences around the entire trap, which are very high. There will be no escape from them. And now quotes from the Otrok Vyacheslav prophecies in relation to the behavior of the animals during the apocalyptic times. There will be lots of mice infestation. Giant nests of mice will kind of sometimes appear in thousands or millions and then disappear as if they are released from somewhere and then called back. People will be sometimes seen on the roofs of their houses with the hope that the mice will not eat them. And then large groups of grasshopper-like creatures, locusts, etc. They will be so numerous that wherever they pass, there will be no soul or plant or anything living left behind. Even brave dogs will actually turn into fear mode, and they will always stay hidden in the corner of their dog home. They will be afraid to come out and fight anything. Even flies, even they will start viciously biting in great numbers. And they will be inflicting these pus wounds on people. Even the crows, something will happen to their collective consciousness all of a sudden, and they will start attacking people and viciously pecking them, wounding them. For many, it will be so desperate from all sides that suicide will be very, very common in those days. Even now, these statistics already show that the suicide rate is steadily growing, although there isn't any actually major problem yet compared to what is about to come. So imagine what it's gonna be later on. The wild beasts will leave the forests and will start prey on men. Of course, when the parasites start fires in their forests, that won't be a surprise. But they will start hunting people, and Vyacheslav recommended to keep weapons and guns for the wild animals, because most of them will be also infected with rabies. And I don't know if it is by chance, but the name for the rabies sickness in the Slavic languages is the same word as being possessed by an evil spirit when it applies to people. And I've seen animals sick of rabies. They look like possessed, so probably there is some connection. It's not a coincidence that the name is the same. And the wild beasts, they will have the same problem as men. Their blood will be poisoned. They will have these wounds, infected wounds with pus. And in general, Vyacheslav explained that when the black magic of the devils comes near the earthly creatures, it first poisons their blood. That's their standard procedure, so to say. And of course, the biggest attraction on the side of the animal kingdom will be the dinosaurs, according to Otrok Vyacheslav. That was in the previous episodes, and those semi-material, again the word of Otrok Vyacheslav, worms, which will also have teeth in 2 rows, like shark, triangle teeth. And Richard is asking, why are they spirits or half spirits, according to Otrok Vyacheslav? Well, because the Lord made their race like that. But the interesting thing here is that in the West it's kind of a simplified language to say that the spirits are non-material. But that's because people nowadays have degraded to such an extent that they need a very simple language. In the really old texts like the Vedas, everything is explained properly. They are made of subtle matter. That's what it's called in the Vedas Prakriti. Everything in Prakriti, or the nature, that is material. And even as the devils, Otrok Vyacheslav says they are practically mortal. Practically, but that means that they simply live too long for us to understand the entire story. Very often, Otrok Vyacheslav also used simple language abbreviations, so to say, because if he would start explaining everything in detail, you just cannot finish whatever you're saying, because in every sentence you will need to write a book to explain few words. And that's why very often also when he spoke with his mother, he said that there is much more, but for you at this point it's okay to know this much. So to return to the Vedic definition of what is Prakriti, when the supreme consciousness, Brahman or Bhagavan, when he decided to create our material realm, first he created the subtle things, the sound, and even our minds, and the very feeling of ahankara, what we usually call the feeling of self being like a separate being, that is also a material illusion, actually. Because in a very higher sense, we are all Bhagavan, because there is nothing outside of him. But this, the way he expanded to become many, to experience more things, even our selfhood is mostly material illusion. It is that subtle, what to speak of the bodies of certain races, which we, for simplicity's sake, call spirits, and also the dinosaurs and this type of worms were put in the same category. And as far as the realms, which are truly spiritual, truly beyond matter according to the Vedas, that is so far above our baby stage of learning of the human race currently, that it is pointless to discuss. And that's why Otrok Vyacheslav coined this term of semi-material, trying to explain this, what is in the Vedas explained in detail, that it is theoretically matter, but such a subtle matter that in the Western languages it is called spirit. The only thing we are really in touch, and which is spirit, that's our own soul, nothing else. But in our current blinded state, we are unable to clearly differentiate between the soul, this ahankara, which is the false ego. There is an entire video about this ahankara on my channel. And even the mind. Very few people can make the difference even between their own self and their mind. It's actually quite a deep question about the beings being non-material or semi-material. And now about the symbol and the prayer, which Otrok Vyacheslav recommended, amongst others, by the way, for protection in critical moments, all the other things which he recommended, these were the main ones. All the others are also orthodox, so it won't make much difference. And of course, many of the viewers are not comfortable with them because they associate the cross and the prayer with the corrupt church. Some people are not at ease even using the other variations of the symbol because they also got politicized. This is an unavoidable problem because the devils, they got all of their symbols from the side of the light. They copied them because they are after these heavenly good things like the pleasures in heaven. That part they like. So they're all the time trying to imitate. They're trying to even kidnap the benevolent goddesses like the Statue of Liberty. That's also a benevolent form of the goddess adapted to their devilish needs, so to say, or at least that is their idea. That's the meaning they put in it, and that's what they preach. And we've heard that so much that people do have these associations. So here he is asking me to recommend a more pagan prayer. I cannot recommend any because, again, it is very important from which source comes the mantra or the prayer. For example, with the Indian mantras, let's say they're 8 lines long, 4 out of 8 will be an explanation who exactly gave this prayer to the people, because that's where it gets its power from the promise of an incarnation of the Lord or a saintly person. That's what fuels it. Imagine it this way: a stranger knocks on the door and begs for help, a person you don't know anything about. You will not be very, you will think what to do. But if this person presents like a letter from your nearest friend, or tells a story and proves that he's connected to a person very dear to you, of course you will have much more zest to help this person. And that's how it works with magical protection prayers. It is very important where you received it. In India, this is a big thing. To which sampradaya or parampara do you belong? That is unbroken lineage of people who are dear to the Lord. And in this lineage, in the beginning, there is always an incarnation of the Lord or a trusted saint who has shown many miracles. So if one finds a prayer that resonates better with his being due to the formulation, the pagan aura or whatever, according to the belief system of the person, then it may happen like this, that the only powering source that you will have with such chosen by you, resonating with your prayer, the only powering source could be your own soul, which is not a minor source of protection. But when we are seeking something, a help from another soul, then the best is to have a proper prayer given directly from the source, as it is Vyacheslav. I will try to make a video with lots of Vedic prayers to the incarnations of the Lord. It is said in the Vedas that usually one has to receive them and get properly initiated, but in emergency they will work also without initiation, so we are definitely already in emergency. And the person who was asking was from Scandinavian lineage. If you find some original text of really your old sagas which contain a prayer to the beings of the light, you can use that as long as it is really an old text. People with Slavic origin, if they find a prayer they like in the old text of the book of Veles, or the Bulgarian Vedas, or the Romanian pieces of Vedas, if they find something like this, it should also work as long as they understand it in their language and they feel in their heart that the energy is flowing. That's okay as long as the text is old, because those Vedas are from the right source as well. For example, I also admire Islam. I can never learn the Ruqya or the Quran. It's just not my language. But what I do is I listen very carefully to the recordings. And for me, this also works personally. And this is very much related. Donald says, I'm in service of life, and he hopes it is enough. Of course, it is more than enough if you are firmly fixed on the path of light. The only problem is that 99% of the people who nowadays think that they're fixed on the path of light and they're in service of Jesus or something, 99% of them are taking the mark and going to hell. And they have 1 million explanations why they think that they are in the service of life and the service of good God and on the right path. Of course, I have no way to see what is your personal situation, Donald. This is not like a hint for you personally, just a general reminder that simply saying that I'm on the path of light has turned sadly already almost irrelevant nowadays. And a perfect example, the question of Ed Perry. It's obvious from his words that he is a sincere person and looks for proper guidance. But the thing is what he believes in at the end, because he says the person has no choice to get the mark to work. Yeah, that's absolutely true. If you want to go to work, you have to take the mark. If it is not yet compulsory, it will be in a few months or maximum couple of years, probably a few months. For some people already is, or it will be in a few weeks. However, what escapes the view of Ed is that there is a choice and you can live without working. Just he cannot imagine that there could be such a drastic, change in his lifestyle and status quo, maybe also, possibly, depending on how he lives. So he cannot imagine an austere life for a couple of very short years, very, very short, that will fly by before you know it. From what we read, he is almost ready to trade his soul for temporary promises that he will be okay. If he just sticks to his work, he will be okay. That's the promise. Even to the point that he says that surely, actually, this is funny, surely the Lord won't even judge him for that. The Lord will not judge you for taking the mark. Wake up, Ed. He has promised that countless times in the books of so many religions and in the prophecies, remarkable prophecies which are coming through in an amazing way with an amazing accuracy, not just from one source. And you discard all these verified sources and you believe this is laughable that the Lord will not judge you for that. That's the worst thing the Lord will judge you for. He will. Because of alcohol and TV exposure, people have lost their minds to such a way that they have got no clue how this world functions. For example, they don't even know what kind of damage can the curse of the village witch do. Even that they can't imagine. Even that can ruin a few lives. And then how can such people understand the meaning of what is to be cursed by Christ himself, by an incarnation of the Lord? To earn his anger, that's beyond their comprehension. This is a very good question about sensitivity, because the devils, they can fake the angelic appearance with wings and so, but they cannot fake the frequency. That is absolutely so, but there is a big trap. The sensitivity actually will increase for all people, also the devil followers. The deeper we go in the tribulation, the more everybody's third eye will be opening, so to say. That's why more and more people will openly start communicating with evil spirits. Now the phones, are the things which put that, thoughts in their minds, and the TV. But it will gradually blend in such a way that these evil spirits will become more and more, openly talking to them, and at the end even appearing in their real devilish form. So sensitivity will increase for everybody without an exception. In the previous episodes there were quotes from various sources about this. The trap is not that they can fake the energy of the positive being. The trap is that they will change the definition of what positive being is in the minds of by far most people. So it boils down to the very same thing. The people will think I'm on the path of light. This resonates with me, fully confirmed on all sides, and they will go for the devils. Hopefully, not you personally, Natalie. I'm not saying it as a hint. I hope you will remain really on the path of light. Even at the current stage at which we are now, people who use the vocabulary of frequency and positive beings, most of these people, they're already on the wrong path. I'm also using this vocabulary, but I have decided not to go for the mark. However, most of the people who do use that vocabulary, they will have excuses for taking the mark. Another very good question. Yes, the path of the colonists, surely it is about training, not only according to Set, according to also the Vedas. They definitely describe exactly like this hell as a place of learning, place for learning. The only problem is that you will not like it there. The Vedic and the Buddhist descriptions of hell, which are quite detailed, they're one to one like the Christian descriptions. There is no difference. And this is what I saw in my short visions. Absolutely same like the Christian. And here about one's relatives, will they be in hell forever? Most probably not. There are many real case stories for souls going to hell. It's very rare that the soul will be there forever. In addition, maybe half of the Earth's population will actually die before they get properly stamped with the laser tattoo or whatever, hot stamping, kettle stamping. It will really depend mostly on what people do as actions, as deeds. For example, I don't think I mentioned that in the Vyacheslav prophecies, but over there it is mentioned. Like, there will be people who will initially accept the biometric passports, but later on, when they find out that it is really apocalypse time, because the passports will come somewhat earlier, they will not go with the devils, they will refuse later on. And then the Vyacheslav prophecies explain, which I think are very, very reliable, extremely reliable, the Vyacheslav prophecies. They even explain the path of these souls, that during judgment, they will not go to hell just because of the biometric passport, because later on they refuse the entire package, but they will be also refused entry to the higher realms, to heaven as well, because they did accept the biometric passport. Now, we should not forget that the Vyacheslav prophecies are local. They are for Russia, and over there people knew that biometric passports are from hell from earlier. So for us, we all have biometric passports in the West. For us, it will be a bit more relaxed. So the initial, passes and things they introduce, if somebody goes for some of that, but later on refuses, more, then one will not go for hell just for an initial relatively minor paper. In practical terms, maybe if somebody goes just for a test, that may not take him to hell by itself. Hopefully, from what I gather from the various sources, I'm just trying to make it applicable for Western circumstances. And there was more on this topic in the previous episodes. The people who will not take the new documents, they can help their relatives with their prayers. Yes, this is a very similar question. She says, I thought that geometrical figures are good, that they are from the good side. Yes, the devils, they borrowed all their symbols without an exception from the benevolent symbols. Even the stars and the triangle, which will be the main symbols of their new religion, even that comes from the light sources. These were also originally good symbols. They just borrowed them. And they will borrow everything, everything they will borrow. No, there is no way to discern whether it is from angels or from the devils, just judging by the symbol. Because whatever they have not borrowed yet, they will borrow it in the future. Yes, that was rather automatic, and the two reasons are that, first of all, I'm translating from Slavic source, and in the Slavic languages, the Holy Trinity has feminine gender. And the other reason is that, at least in his earthly life, I don't know how is it over there in heaven where he normally is, Vyacheslav was protected by a female voice and power. And that seems to be related to the Holy Trinity in general, because he said that the Holy Trinity gave to him the power which he would need on earth. As far as the gender of Lord, you can see there is a video called Izgotei Tulpa on my channel. And I'm gonna tell you what is happening personally with me and my area in terms of the madness, just for those who are curious. And it's also a perfect example of how things can get very turbulent all of a sudden. I had some remote faith that at least here maybe it will not be so bad, because the government is slightly more humane than other places. Nonsense. Just 2 days ago, by chance, I found out that they have published even in the newspaper that starting after 1 or 2 weeks, they are closing everything for unfixed people, including food stores. No access at all to anything. You know, Otrok Vyacheslav told us that there will be special stores with limited choice for the unfixed people, but maybe this is only in Russia, where I am. Everybody is fixed practically, so they can do anything. Or maybe they will open such stores later on, or maybe they will postpone everything because there could be some protests in the cities. But all this is very temporary, and even in a relatively safe area, I mean, just in over a year, we started from zero and we are reaching that if you don't have the mark of the, you know what, you cannot buy and sell. Where did we reach? So I'm already in the countryside, but still I was hoping to go to another place. I was thinking maybe in a couple of years, because I'm expecting the tribulation in 2025, but that was the planned date according to Alexander Paramonov, and he openly said it can come anytime before that. That is like the last one. He said for the financial implosion of the currencies, but also it was a hint that the more turbulent times, and also we have other signs about 2025, but why not do it earlier when the sheeple are complying so well? So I'm trying big changes really within days notice now. For me, I don't know if I will manage. I was thinking to do something with some relatives, but when I called them, they say here they also started a campaign that there is this new dangerous strand or whatever they call it, and they say we're afraid to travel, we'll get stuck on the road. The way they started scaring people over there, they're afraid they won't be able to reach home if they get out of it. So anyhow, if it is on my path, these big changes, I don't know how it will be with internet access and publishing, what will be possible, what not, and I don't know when will that start. I'm recording this on 26th of August 2021. I may publish it a bit later, I don't know, and before my changes, if they're about to come, I will try to make at least hasty version of the 2 other episodes. But even if I don't manage to do anything more, it is not by chance that exactly, if these big changes happen exactly at this time, the most important material is over or nearly over. This is not by chance. Of course, it would have been better if I would have completed this couple of years ago. The people would have more time to prepare, but then people were not taking me seriously anyway. And at least now, with such a small public left because of the YouTube shadow banning, at least some people will take it seriously, and I'm very happy I could complete this. And sooner or later, such circumstances will befall all of us. And just to continue the example, how it will be fighting on multiple fronts. In this hectic situation, I got bitten by a spider. I didn't know much about spider bites. I would have imagined it's something like it would be to be bitten by a wasp. It's like being bitten by a poisonous snake. It's that bad. For a few days it was dragging me unconscious, just out of the blue. And thank you for all of you who sent me donations. With those funds, I bought herbs and everything that I need myself. It would have been impossible to do it otherwise, absolutely. And when this sudden, it poisoned my entire blood. When this came suddenly, I just, from whatever herbs I had, anything that might be related to purifying blood, I started taking that and experimenting like every hour, different herb. And at the end, I also tried this dragon's blood sap, like 15 drops of that. And that was preventing me from fainting, and was like kind of bringing me back to life for a couple of hours, and then I would take more drops. And it's a herb which wouldn't be usually recommended for that, but it's just an example of how even with a general collection of herbs which you have, or even spices. I was taking also turmeric, oregano oil, all these antiviral, anti-inflammatory, blood purifying spices. You could try with nutmeg, with cinnamon powder, with whatever you have at hand, oregano oil. When you're in a situation that something poisons your blood, most likely these sicknesses which we heard about, which will be lingering in the air, carried by the wind, there will be no health care. It's good to have herbs, and don't go for these capsules. They are too small. Just go for websites which sell herbs by kilo, because also the dosage of these capsules is usually on purpose wrong, and in most cases it should be 2 or 3 times more than what they write, which is not a general rule which you can apply freely everywhere. But the more I read about herbs, when they have remarks about historic usage, you see that actually they had much bigger doses previously. And people were also a bit smaller in size. Now most of us are huge, almost double weight. We should keep that in mind. So what I hope that you will learn from my story is, don't delay to get to your best safe place, because when they close everything on a few hours or a few days notice, you won't be able to go to the petrol station to drive to the place, or they will set up borders between different regions with passes, and eventually you may give up if you need to walk a few hundred kilometers on foot. So don't delay, even if it seems too austere. They may surprise you. At least they surprised me big time here. And in the news, they have all kinds of lies. Oh, once we reach 70%, fixation, we will relax the rules. That's when they will tighten the rules, because then they know that they have the majority of people already signed up for the devil's army. That will open the green light for them to tighten and make it even worse. And the excuse will be already there, because with the 70% fixation, of course, the people will then really start, getting sick and dying in excessive numbers. That will really be the case then. So don't, and some people are still talking, oh, you see, you are too negative. See, we will reach 70% and then it will be better. You are unspiritual. You are talking about, spreading unnecessary fear. Yes, you can go or you can have, you can encourage the people to have interest in organic gardening, but not spread fear like that. I mean, what interest in organic farming? How can they buy a farm and start learning about organic? It's time to run for one's life and not talk general, so-called spiritual talk. For me, that's laughable, but it seems too many people are still buying this general spiritual talk. And it's not just me. In a few countries already it is so. The people without certificate, they cannot go even to the food store. It's not just threat here, just where I am. It's reality already at a number of places. So, in case I do not have internet or I cannot post videos for indefinite period or for some time, it is possible. It won't be necessarily so. Surely, sometimes I will get shortly internet access, and there is this community tab. I may leave short messages there, if possible, and if not, I have said already everything in the End Time series, in the Survivors of Atlantis. There is nothing left to be said. From what I have seen in my visions few times, I saw these apocalyptic events, and I'm kind of maybe 100 or a few hundred meters in the air, and I'm trying to help the people. So this may mean that luckily I may have a short time on Earth, but also it is possible that our higher self, while this body is still alive, my higher self also helps from above. That is also possible. It's not necessarily a sign that I may leave soon, although my health already gives such hints. And this is not just me. All the forefathers, this is in all cultures, they help us from the skies. And this situation that our higher self functions as independent being even while its incarnation, is alive, that I have also seen. That is really true for sure. That is not just imagination. That is in the set books. He said that our perception, or let's say the biblical perception that we have only one birth and that's it. He says that is only half true, because the self, actually, the self is like a hub, this central soul, and all these incarnations, like ourselves, the countless incarnations of a given self. Yes, they are its parts, they are related, but also Seth explains it is also true to say that they are complete beings in themselves. It's kind of 50-50 in between our, notions that we have, like this a bit of biblical and Hindu dispute. Does the self have only one birth or multiple? Seth says both are true. Many of you will be realizing this also within the coming years, because everybody's vision will be opening very, very quickly. So I'm recording this sitting in between heaps of luggage as I'm packing in the break. And my plan is that once I finish packing within a couple of days, then I will quickly record the other 2 episodes when possible, and then we'll see what is the plan of the Lord. I believe I have dispatched the paintings to everybody who ordered any. All of you should have received your tracking numbers within the last few days. Those of you who sent me donations, thank you very much. It literally saved my life because of this spider bite. And literally within a few hours, when I felt okay, I'm finally recovering, because this spider bite, it was like 3 weeks bad. And one fine day, I felt okay, now that is recovering. And then this neighbor came, and I found out the news that they are closing here everything. And they made it so sly, here the local authorities, they're all the time even sending you pamphlet within the post box with all the latest information and how scary it is, and this and that person cannot smell anymore and you should be in panic, and everything explained so long. But about the really important news that they are closing down everything, not even a word. So that caught me as a surprise. So be aware, they may enact laws and not even tell you. So I wish you a good day, and I wish you to remain enthusiastic as me, because end times mean the end of the parasitic cancer, and the more dynamic it gets, the faster time will flow, and the cancer will be over sooner than we think.